It's great to see some of the folks that I recognize, both in the candidate circle and also as the community members. Appreciate the invite. As we all know, we're in very difficult times, and there's not an institution or a family that has not been touched by this perpetual emergency status that we're in. But the campaign calendar and the electoral calendar goes on and is fixed, and we have an opportunity this year to renew for the first time our preschool promise and CPS initiative from 5 years ago. And that initiative is to produce annually $48 million for CPS, of which $15 million is by law dedicated to preschool expansion for both CPS and also many private providers. It is a historic partnership. It took 3 years to build, and we're in our 5th year, so to speak, of it being implemented. And indeed, we were kind of, I guess we were building the airplane as we were flying it, but everyone came together. And the preschool promise levy, or now renewal, is developed in order to keep the growth and the initiative of quality seats and multiple quality sites, and the elimination of preschool deserts, if you will, throughout our school district, which was incredibly important. And indeed, they had to change the law at the state to even allow us to do this. And the state everywhere, and this in Ohio, has been looking at how we did it, and it has become a model for other systems. But of the $15 million, we have expanded, almost doubled the size and seats, and increased the quality of both at CPS and also from our other providers outside the system, but within the district. We also have the rest of that money, of the not $15 million, that is spent on operations in the general fund, both on the technology and staff, facility development, and the neighborhood resurgence, if you will, of our neighborhood schools. So that's where we have been spending the money, and feel very good about the leadership by both the former Superintendent Ronan and our current Superintendent Mitchell as to adhering to the principles and the master agreement between and among everyone, which included both the private providers and preschool promise entity, but also United Way as the trusted entity that when money from CPS goes to the other providers, it is held by United Way. And then the money that is not spent either by CPS or by the private providers after their budget has been exhausted or their year is over and it's time to create a new one, but all that unspent money, which is increasingly less and less as we expand, comes back and is held again to be fully dedicated as carryover for precisely only preschool expansion and quality initiatives. So it's a very important thing. We would be desperately hurt without it, and this great initiative can't go ahead without that money. And the other piece of this is that, and I think some of you are very well aware of this, long before I was, that the preschool staffing and preschool vendors, if you will, providers, are always kind of operating at a marginal profit rate. And more particularly, as you well know, the folks that are employed in early childhood invariably are much underpaid, as it particularly in the private sector are mostly women of color, and then also private entrepreneurs that are running from their facilities or out of their own home or what have you, actual preschools. And so part of the initiative also that is, I think, started to be received well is also upping the pay, upping the qualifications, giving more grants for private providers and staff to begin to not only up their game, but indeed be allowed and have the time and to develop their entities and their businesses, as well as pay their staff appropriately. Now, Cincinnati Public has had a 50-some year history of preschool, but we recognize that alone we could not expand it to the level that we needed to. and i.e. the partnership that really was, as I said, started about 8 years ago, but has only been in full implementation these last 5 years, was begun as a community initiative and a CPS initiative, and it's been at the heart of our growth as a district. So we are asking the people to hold us accountable. There is an independent CPS board, of course. There's an independent preschool promise board, a trusted entity of United Way, a guarantee of the monies only being used for what we have promised they'd be used for. And we are asking the voters to renew it for the first time. And we will continue to build preschool. Preschool is one of those 3 or 4 things that are the most important predictors of how well a child is going to do in school. It's also one of the great predictors of parental involvement and family involvement. The younger and earlier the kids get involved in the system, the longer that family indeed stays with the system and continues to advocate for their children. Because parental advocacy, if you will, in urban systems is hard, because so many people have had such bad experiences maybe in their life with public school systems that are maybe underfunded or less representative than they need to be. But what we want to do is, and we see public engagement increasing as a result. We see the quality of seats improving. We see the pay improving for our preschool folks. And it's been a real difficult development to keep going, but we really are at a very good place, especially in the last 2 years, in actually having a partnership that is committed to one goal, and that is preschool expansion and quality improvement and the elimination of deserts. So one of the other things I should mention, we find that about half of the children, or a little bit more than half of the children in the private sector of providers come to CPS. And we are able to prove after now particularly the last 3 years of data collection, that the children that are participating in preschool, be it at CPS or in the providers arena, are coming in twice as prepared as the children that don't. So all the statistics seem to be proving correct about improving the children's scholarship, as well as the family's commitment to the district and further education. So we're asking as humbly as we can, but as emphatically as we can, for the renewal of this renewal.
Questions for Eve? I'm glad you were able to do this review today, because I think, you know, with the presidential election and all that's going on with COVID and everything, people's minds are diverted from some of these local issues that are critical to us, like preschool promise. And it's good to hear that it's going so well. My wife, who's was a preschool Montessori teacher, really believes in preschool, that is a key to a lot of early learning, can lead to some real success. So, any questions for Eve on both preschool promise and the levy? Oh, surely we have a few questions out there.
That's okay.
So, how are things going in general, Eve, with the schools going back and all that?
It's difficult. We have after this meeting right now, we have our finance meeting, and as you can well imagine, the financial requirements